I thought I knew what insanity was, as I thought it was me. I hallucinated quite a bit when schizophrenia introduced itself to me when I was around 15, 16, 17. And it was quite a while before I realized what was happening and what I was suffering from. Now, at the time, there was never any illusions in my mind that it was real. It did not seem real to me, and even to this day, I hesitate to call my hallucinations real, whether they were so or not. What I experienced much later spiritually, though, is a completely different matter. I believed what everyone else believed early on. I saw that to exist as a human being, one must be a part of a society. One must have ideas similar to those around them if they were to survive. But I began to question why. I began to ask questions about religion to myself because my parents are atheists, and I didn't believe the children at school who told me that, Jesus was God and this was the only way to believe. So I looked up the different definitions for the different religions online and started with Buddhism, but that's another story. I started to unravel the fabric of reality that had been woven by society around me. And I started to see a grander fabric, something that was beyond what others wanted me to believe. Something that was stronger, more ancient, and more intrinsic to our reality. That cannot be fashioned by human hands over thousands of years, let alone millions. Who had I been before I accepted the narrative of others? And what intelligence informed me? But I could also ask, what intelligence informed my liberation? You see, we say the words soul, matrix, God, consciousness, but we don't experience them. They float in a mercurial expanse beyond relativity. We cannot be relative to something that we've never truly experienced. You cannot pray and expect God to come to you or you to go to God without the attempt, at least, or the knowledge of how to try to work your way there yourself. Grace has its place, but what is first and foremost is effort. This is what has been lost in many religions, many modern religions, that leave everything up to the grace of God and mercy. It completely strips us of our right and necessity to work towards God. If God wanted to do everything for us, He wouldn't have created beings with the power of free choice. But I'm going off in a tangent that I did not mean to. I am not a Christian. I consider myself a Hindu, and I don't think of God in the same way as other people who believe in such a thing. I do think that the Bible is very metaphysical and that there is truth to it, but very deep down. And I call myself Hindu not because I was raised Hindu or because somebody convinced me that Hinduism is correct, but because Hinduism is so open to the evolution of human consciousness. And the fact that you don't have to believe any one set of dogma in order to be Hindu. No one can call you an improper Hindu or someone who isn't Hindu because there is no commandments. There is understanding and the different levels of understanding. And, people disagree in Hinduism, like in every other religion and spiritual tradition, but the thing is, when it comes down to it, Hinduism is vast, and it does not require of you. It gives. It encourages a community of giving. But regardless, whatever belief system you wish to participate in, whatever beliefs you have or lack thereof, what you need to do is to start to unravel the reality everyone wants to spin for you. Returning back to my point that I used to hallucinate quite a bit, it wasn't pleasant, and then and now I know that they were hallucinations. But though I saw these things with my eyes, I heard these things with my ears, and I smelled these things with my nose, and I used all of my senses, there was one sense I realized was experiencing illusion that still experiences illusion and did so after those very psychotic illusions. That is the mind. I saw that society was spinning for me the same illusions that I had hallucinated with my other senses. My other senses had fooled me. But I realized that later on, when they weren't fooling me, that society was still fooling me in one of my senses, in one of my worlds, in one of my canvases, that which is the mind. And what everyone else valued, what everyone else sought, was purely based on cultural norms. Ideas of beauty, ideas of success, ideas of self-identification. And what drove me crazy, and what drives me, well, it doesn't drive me crazy anymore because I understand it more. But what drove me crazy is that people seem to not think for themselves. They put on these blinders, they put on this VR helmet that is life, and accept the programming of other people. Most of the time, the very few. And the few people in power will hardly write a program that will benefit the many, as we have seen throughout human history. At any rate, I think that I've spoken enough for today. I thought I knew what insanity was, as I thought it was me. But then I realized that it wasn't the senses that were making me insane. It was the reality that was being spun for me. Thank you for listening. I hope all of you have a great day.